In this example, we are going to be changing back and forth between different screens. And I've created two screens. I have screen 1 and I also have screen 2, which is just green. And the reason why I did that was I just set the background to green. You look at this background color, just so it's very noticeable that you're switching between these two screens. So let's take a look. I have a change screens column, and then I have inside of there a label that just says change screens. I have a change screens button, okay? And then I also have a label down here that just says also try to swipe to change screens. And I've set two different ways to change the screens. If I were to click this button, I can change between my screens, or I can also swipe between the screens. Let's take a look. All right, so a few things. Let me go back to the design. There are a few invisible components I want to talk about. All right, so the first thing is, if you're looking down here, let me try and find it. Actually, let's just move forward. I'm not exactly sure why that's not showing up there. It's probably because I don't actually need an invisible component there, but we're going to move forward. Oh, I think I know what it is. So if we're going through, I have, well, I'll show you. I have a top tab navigator. That's what I wanted. I don't know why I thought it was an invisible component. I wasn't thinking right. So this top tab navigator is important. You want to drag that in there. So top tab navigator, drag that in there and drop it in. This actually allows me to see, like if I were to live test right now, right? This shows up. You see how there's a top navigator right here? If I click change screens, it changes to this green screen, right? And if I were to swipe, see how I'm like moving my screen like that? If I were to swipe my screen, it actually switches between the screens as well. Let me show you how to actually do that in the blocks part. All right, so I have that button that changes screens. That's as simple as saying when change screens button is clicked, so that button that I had, navigate to screen 2. And that can be found if I go into control, okay, and I say navigate to screen, I can just change it to whatever screen that I want. So whenever you click that button, it should switch to the next screen. The swipe comes naturally with the top navigator. If I go back here, you see the top tab navigator that I've added in there. That swipe feature comes naturally. So if I'm in here once again live testing, if I grab this side of the screen and swipe this way, screen 2 shows up. If I grab here and swipe this way, screen 1 shows up, and I'm able to navigate between those two screens, or I can just click this button. So normally it's not best practice to have more than like 4 or 5 screens. You can also just hide and show columns and rows like I've been doing here. So like in all these examples I just went through, I had already created them, and then I just went through and I just made visible and I turned visible off, and I went to the next one and I made that visible and turned that true and went through. So rather than having a bunch of different screens, you can create different columns or different rows and just make them visible or not visible. So visible, not visible. If I come down here, right, like send email column, if I say visible, there's my send email column. So you don't need a ton of different screens. Like I said, normally it's best practice not to have more than 4 or 5 screens. You can add a bunch of different rows and columns and navigate between them and make that work. But if you do want to switch between screens, now you know how to do so.